Hello and welcome to the That's So Craven podcast, your one-stop shop for all things Fulham. And we're back because we're close and it's in touching distance now for this new season, which is frankly, um, it's an interesting one. I feel like I normally have a summer or a winter from our perspective off, and I go away and do other things. But it feels like we've been pretty immersed in football with the Euros, and then suddenly some very interesting things happening at Fulham. It feels like I haven't been away, but obviously far away from the microphone. Here to chat through all of this tonight or this afternoon for you, all in the UK and in Europe, is Samuel. How are you, Sam?
I'm sorry, we got to give it way more than that. We're back, people. That's so Craven's back. We're back on the airwaves. We're back in your ear holes. We've missed tickling your ear holes. We're here again. I'm really excited about it. Don't listen to Dad's intro. That was at least a 5. We're at 10. We need to get high octane. I'm really excited. I'm excited to be back with you guys. This is he speaks to me all the time, so he doesn't really care. But I very rarely get to see Dave now, and yeah, there's so much. There is so much. But
And
yeah,
yeah, thanks for the energy, Sam. You know how it goes. I'm a little different. We're all a little special and all a little different, but there you go. And from the other side of the world, David, how are you? Nice to see your face.
Oh, thanks, Elton. Yeah. Oh man, it's I'm really excited. It feels like it's been ages since we've done a pod, and there's so much to talk about. I don't know how we're going to get through it in an hour and a half, whatever time we've got. But I guess while we've been away, it's been really nice to see lots of people from the That's So Craven community kind of ask us when we're going to be back. You know, when you're going to be back, when are you going to be doing your next pod?
yeah.
And I think that's great. I mean, we've got to give these guys their fix. It seems like they're having withdrawal symptoms. But good news is we're going to be back now. We're going to be giving you your double dose of That's So Craven content weekly now as we run up to the season. And it may be addictive, guys, but you can't overdose on this stuff. So enjoy. Come on, guys, let's get to work.
And as we should point out that wherever you follow us, we've actually been reasonably active over the break. Certainly on the Discord and on our socials. I should also mention that we've started another channel, and that's it's a platform and a house for a new channel of content, and we're putting out some feature articles and some reviews and a midweek review, which is called Midweek Moments. Some of you may have seen that. If you haven't, please get around it. We like to think it's a pretty handy wrap for the week that is Fulham, and hopefully as the season gets underway, that will be a nice little augmentation to the pods. So, guys, what's that?
Sorry, I was just going to say it's like a rags to riches story here, because I just remember when it was just you, me, and Jack just waffling along, and now we've got articles. There's a double feature. We've got high production value. Let's just get in. Let's get in.
But clearly still quite a lot of waffle. So never fear, fans. You'll still be getting that bit. Let's sort of chronologically walk our way through this since we've been away. Obviously, there were a couple of exits, I think, before we left the airways in João Palhinha. That was the kind of Eagles farewell tour that was. He was going and going for a long time, and finally he left for so I guess in the region of the kind of money we were realistically hoping for. The other one I think that probably happened around the same time was a confirmation of Bobby Decordova-Reid, absolute Fulham favourite, leaving, and obviously we wish him very well, and we will see him in a blue shirt sometime soon. And then of course we got into the weird transfer window that was somewhat disrupted, I guess, by the Euros, if not a little bit deferred. And there was a huge amount of frustration. I think it's not unreasonable to say that, because there was very, very, very little happening for an awful long time, and all of the spin and rumors went into hyperbole, and there were we as always, we've been associated and softly linked with so many different players. I've completely lost track. It is in the midweek moments if you're interested, but yeah, look, rather than me try to step through this, which I can because I've got some slides in front of me, why don't we just sort of talk about some of the key signings that we've made? There haven't been that many, but there's been obviously some great sentimental incomings and a bit of stardust as well. Dave, do you want to? I know you've been following this very, very closely and very passionately.
Yeah.
So walk us through.
Yeah, it's been tough. As you said, there was the big news at the start of the summer when João Palhinha finally exited, and that was we almost thought that maybe the Bayern Munich transfer had been and gone, but then at the start of the summer the rumours started again. Before you knew it, he was off. Maybe not for quite the money that we needed, but or wanted, but he was off nonetheless. And I think then, as you say, it was a bit of a lull where the Euros was going on, and we all were kind of desperate to see Fulham reinvest some of that money, knowing that Willian has obviously had a contract expired. BDR has also had his contract expired, and obviously since joined Leicester. And Tosin, of course, has also jumped ship. But the less said about that, the better. And yeah, and then all of a sudden, in the last few weeks, it's kind of exploded into life. And there's a couple of sagas. There's the Yondre saga out there, and initially there was the Emil Smith-Rowe saga, but that one concluded, which was brilliant, and concluded in enough time for us to get to see him in a couple of games in the last few friendlies. So that's been really exciting, and I'm sure we'll get into that. But he's obviously the marquee signing so far. The money we've spent, you'd hope that he would be able to make a big difference and improve us as a team. And yeah, the other signings I think are more backup players. We've signed, obviously Tim Ream has now dearly departed, and now we've had to invest in his replacement, and we've brought in a younger model in Cuenca who's looked very similar, very good on the ball when we've seen him play so far in these friendlies, and perhaps a good investment. And Ryan Sessegnon, we were all a bit confused as to where he may play, but I think it's looking more and more clear that he's going to be Robinson's understudy in the team at left back. So yeah, now the rumor mill is really in full flow. I mean, even this morning we're seeing stuff around Diego Carlos, Joachim Anderson return, which has just been reported by The Athletic. So that's a pretty good source. For what it's worth, I'm not sure we'll get Joachim Anderson, particularly at the price we've bid, but just shows you, the transfer news is coming in hot and fast. So yeah, I think that was a brief summary, but please.
It's really comprehensive. I don't really know what else I can add there.
Well, actually, I'm interested in your opinion, Dave. You've given me a list, but out of 10, ESR, how do you feel?
I'm excited. I mean, out of 10, I'd say I'm 8. I'm at 8. I think the only kind of reserve has been the fact that he's had some injuries, and that's the bit that kind of we've got to keep this guy fit. There's no point spending 25, 20, 30 million on a player, and if we can't keep him fit. So that's the one thing. But I'm really excited. I think he's a player that could potentially take us to the next level, and he will offer us. I think he's shown already in the friendlies that he's going to offer us more of a goal threat in that 10 position, and and link up play a lot more of the wingers, I think. So that it might be a bit of a different way we play now, but I'm quite excited to see it.
Sam, you a fan?
Smith-Rowe? Yeah, look, I mean, I'll be honest. I try to distance myself from Arsenal as much as physically possible. So I can't say I was like crazily familiar. I mean, as much as just a general football fan is. I've been And I was familiar with not his decline, but his recent lack of exposure at Arsenal. And I mean, you always kind of feel for like young up and coming players that seem to be hungry, but then it's just wrong time, wrong place. And so I was initially a little bit conflicted because he seems to be so wedded to Arsenal, and we're not going to make this an Arsenal podcast. And even with the initial promo, I was a little bit unsure because I mean, he has kind of come to us looking to revamp his career, which is something that we love at Fulham. I love when players are seeming to do that at the moment. If you make us a stepping stone and just play well for us, I'm totally chill with that. And so I was a little bit uncertain. I was like, I don't really know what we're getting here. But from seeing him in preseason, he just poaches goals in a way that like I don't think we've had for a really, really, really long time. Like he's so genuinely threatening. I mean, I'm used to Andreas being kind of like a puppet master in that position. But just with the way in which Smith Rowe has been just getting goals in just such a short time, and they're really, really good goals, and it's just so tenacious. I've become really, really excited, and I just look forward to seeing if he becomes the guy because I reckon he will.
Yeah, I'm with you, Dave. I think obviously I was kind of concerned about the risk factor around him. It's a lot of money for Fulham to spend on a player. It's not big money in Premier League terms at all, but from our perspective, that's on a player that's had some recent nasty injuries. You want to hope that he's actually well and truly over them. Yesterday was the first time I'd actually seen him over the last couple of weeks. And I actually thought he was really exciting. I thought he was nippy, busy, presses hard, really exciting. And there seems to be some really interesting dynamics developing there as well. Dave and I and Jack were chatting last night during the game, and I thought it was really telling that Iwobi dinked that little ball in over the top. I can't imagine that I've seen anyone do that for anyone in the last 12 or 18 months. And but when you know there's someone about who might run onto something like that, you just might be inclined to do it. So it's not a matter of whether we're capable of that skill, but whether there's that belief that we can play that way and react to it. And if that's the feeling in there, I'm very, very excited. Obviously, he's a fairly flexible player in terms of his ability to play in a different couple of positions, but it seems to be emerging where Marco Silva is keen for him to play, and in behind Muniz, which obviously is a change for Pereira. How do we feel about that, Dave? I'll throw to you first. How do you? I mean, are you? Do you like that change, and do you think that sort of sits well with Pereira in terms of how he sees himself?
Well, I mean, Pereira before he joined Fulham did play more as an 8. He was a bit deeper for whether it was Man United, Flamingo. He was playing a little bit deeper, so I think maybe he feels more comfortable there and potentially. So I'm open to that. I think that he needs a strong partner alongside him, someone with a bit physical. I think it can get around and win the ball to really get the best out of him in that position. And I'm not sure we've got that in the side yet. So I think we'll see what we do in the transfer market. But in terms of preseason, the last three games that I've just watched, I think my kind of biggest takeaway was that Smith Rowe in the 10, Iwobi out left, and Adama out right just looks really, really strong. It's certainly going to be how we start the season. And I think that, you know, Iwobi, I think, is going to be a really, really good player. I think he's going to be a really, really good player. I think he's going to be a really, really good player. I think he's going to be a really, really good player. I think he's going to be a really, really good player. I think he's going to be a really, really good player. I think he's going to be a really, really good player. I think he's going to be a really, really good player. I think he's going to be a really, really good player. I think he's going to be a really, really good player. I think he's going to be a really, really good player. I think he's going to be a really, really good player. I think he's going to be a really, really good player. I think he's going to be a really, really good player. I think he's going to be a really, really good player. I think he's going to be a really, really good player. I think he's going to be a really, really good player. I think he's going to be a really, really good player. I think he's going to be a really, really good player. I think he's going to be a really, really good player. I think he's going to be a really, really good player. I think he's going to be a really, really good player. I think he's going to be a really, really good player. I think he's going to be a really The link-up play on the left between Iwobi, Robinson, and Smith Rowe, I thought was excellent in the second half yesterday. I think on the right-hand side, it looks as though Pereira's pushing more slightly to the right, helping out with Adama. We've got Kenny Tete coming in on the overlap. It really looks like out wide, we've got a really strong, we look really strong, and Smith Rowe's kind of tying it all together in attacking midfield. Pereira, I think it will really depend on, can we get the right partner for him in the midfield, or will his role be more of a kind of squad player this season, and that's maybe not something that we expected.
Yeah.
Sam?
Well, I think it's incredibly promising. I mean, I think we're slowly approaching ultimate silver side at the moment. It's going to be really, really fascinating to see, because I mean, I've been quite used to a certain Marco Silva style over the past couple of years, but I think that's been more, he's just best utilized the players at his disposal. Whereas like now it's pretty clear, I mean, it's what we've been begging for the past like 2 seasons at least, that the Khans are actually probably backing him. They're spending some good money to actually get him what he wants. And just the attacking threat that seems to be coming out is just something that I haven't really seen for the past couple of years. I mean, arguably when we were in the championship a couple of years ago, like that was probably the closest that we've got to how it feels now. But yeah, it's really, really exciting. I mean, if anything, Muniz is, I don't want to say he's like a weak point, but I mean, out of the 3 or 4 of Iwobi, Smith Rowe, Traore, and Muniz, he's kind of proving to be the least kind of exciting at the moment. But hopefully, I mean, he's still super young, so hopefully he can like grow into that a little bit more. And honestly, it's probably going to put a lot less pressure on him to have that much going around him. In terms of Pereira, I'm pretty confident that they should be able to find somebody that best suits him well. I mean, Sasa Lukic is always a little bit of a will he, won't he? But I mean, with the potential signing of Andre, which I feel at some point will happen, it's just kind of more of a when as opposed to an if. That could prove to be enough. It's just exciting, isn't it? It's just we're actually kind of getting what we want, and I'm just not used to that as a Fulham fan. So it's looking up for me.
It's just kind of a crazy game we play here, trying to predict what's really happening behind closed doors and in the C-suite of Fulham.
Yeah.
And I mean, it does seem like Fluminense are sort of a tricky customer to deal with. They seem to have, in-house chaos at the moment in terms of they're in a bit of a free fall. They're not doing very well. One assumes that that's probably complicating and muddying the waters in terms of the timing of when they allow him to go, if they're trying to extract maximum number of points to limit the damage in their season. Who knows? Or it may simply be that they're just trying to optimize the transaction and get as much money as they possibly can. The part that makes me nervous is that, all of this happens with very bright lights shining on it. We're not operating in silence. We're in the shadows here. And whilst we've obviously got the money to spend and we don't seem to have PSR type constraints, he's a well-known player. He's not like someone we've scouted out of the dark, some sort of corner in Africa that no one's come across yet. You wonder how long it can go on before someone just swoops in and offers them 5 or 10 million more, and we lose the deal. I don't know, but it strikes me that I sort of have a picture of Marco Silva leaning over the kitchen table with a jigsaw half complete.
Yeah.
With the season starting in about 5 days' time. But even Andre, if that does come in, he would be a very exciting signing. But doesn't seem like it's the end of the story in terms of what we need, because that'd be incredible, as we were discussing yesterday, with in possession Fulham. But where's that João Palhinha replacement and the sort of bodying capability in midfield that we look? I don't know that we have to have another João Palhinha, but we certainly need something more physical than Lukic and than Lukic or even Reed is going to offer.
Speaking of a lack of physicality, I just want to get you guys' thoughts on it because he's literally just staring at me right now, and I do think it's quite interesting. Ryan Sessegnon, romantic signing. We've got our boy back after he's had a terrible time at Spurs, but it's pretty evident that he is still a work in progress. How do you guys feel about this one? Because it is an interesting signing.
Dave, I know you've got views.
I have views. They're not popular views. I warn you in advance.
That's
But
okay. We get the truth here, Dave. We go for the jugular.
We've got to find the truth. So when we were first linked with Ryan Sessegnon, I was quite vocal around some concerns I had, obviously around his fitness. He's had, so many hamstring injuries over the last few years, accumulating in a quite big operation. But we know there's a weakness there. And the second thing was, when he has played at left back for Spurs, he hasn't looked that good, in all honesty. And as you know, I have in-laws that are Tottenham fans, and they'd regularly kind of report when he'd played, because they knew of the affinity to Fulham, and he just never really took off and made that position his own. We always remember him as this winger that used to score goals and get assists for us as, we climbed out of the Championship, and he actually had half decent season in the Premier League when, on the wing. It wasn't a particularly good campaign, but he got quite a few assists that year, if I remember. So I think I get the whole nostalgic thing around bringing him back. And actually, when we did, I kind of got on board with it. I jumped on the old bandwagon, the Ryan Sessegnon bandwagon, and felt really good about it, like everyone else did. But now I'm feeling concerned again. And I'll tell you why. It's because it looks like he's not going to be played in that wing role that we remember him. It looks like, from what we've seen in the friendlies and from what different people have said, Marco Silva, I saw an interview with Anthony Robinson where he referred to this, that he is going to very much be competition for Robinson on that left-hand side. And again, if that's his position now, I'm not sure. I'm not sure he's capable of taking, of competing with Robinson, to be honest. So you've got two issues there potentially. One is, can we keep him fit? And the second is, if Robinson's ever out of the team, do we have a strong enough backup player there? So, yeah, look, I get it. It's lovely to see a player back that we were so fond of, who grew up with us, and came through the ranks and broke into the scene and created loads of really special moments. But I'm just worried that he's not the same player.
Or not necessarily the player we need right now in that position to compete. Sam?
Well, I did hear some good takes on it, and I do think that Silva has taken him back as a progress signing. So he's not. It's not the same as Smith Rowe. He's taken him back to not be the guy, but and to not actually start above Robinson, because Robinson's clearly the better option, and Traore is also clearly the better option on the left. And honestly, it could literally, like, Castagna could also fill in that position. So it's quite a low risk signing from that perspective. Like, we're not deeply relying on him, which I actually think does kind of work in his favor, because, I mean, his confidence must be at a low, and he had a pretty crap time at Spurs, and I don't really think he ever had a really fair shot at the Spurs as well. I mean, he's still super young, so there's so much time to be able to work with him. I honestly don't necessarily know how he develops into this squad, but I do think he's got a better chance of actually developing into this squad than he would have at Spurs. So I think he's got minimum pressure. He's not going to be required from the go to actually be anything overly important. So I think that actually gives him pretty fertile ground to become something special. And if he doesn't become something special, then I don't necessarily think that's the end of the world, because we've got Robinson, we've got a decent amount of options. So I'm actually pretty optimistic about it, because clearly he's a guy who just doesn't necessarily need that pressure, because it just doesn't necessarily work for him. And I think with all these like athletes, you need to work best with what works best for them within reason. So yeah, I'm optimistic about it, at least.
But as you both kind of pointed out, if he's competing for left back with Robinson, it doesn't seem realistically that he's going to start and beat Robinson to that position. If he's competing against Iwobi at left wing, I would be surprised if he actually was preferred over Iwobi as well. Iwobi's looking good to me from everything I can see. Obviously, he played there and has played there over the last couple of weeks.
But you have pulled out two 28-year-old players, and he is 24, so he's got time. Is my point.
But I don't think he's a fast-rising star that we don't fully understand. I think we know what we're dealing with. It's a matter of whether he can fit in and whether he can be, almost our Bobby Decadova-Reid down the left-hand side, if you like, with a little bit of utility, bit of flexibility. Anyway, I guess it remains to be seen. I'm glad we didn't pay money for him. Does anyone have any idea what kind of wages we're paying for him?
I'm not sure. It's a good question. I didn't hear that reported.
No, I've not seen anything either. And also, he trialed at Palace for a few weeks. Did anyone hear anything as to why he was overlooked?
There was conflicting reports. There was reports that Glasner didn't like him, and there's another report that said they were a bit blindsided by the deal with Fulham. So it's really hard to know what to believe. It's all kind of conjecture, but I guess the club felt that bringing him back home, we might be able to, especially with Marco Silva at the helm, be able to kind of turn his career back around. And there is logic to that. So I'm not, I think look, if he's going to be left back cover, I mean, we saw how much Frodo Ballatore played last year. It wasn't a lot. So, that's fine. But I think we're probably going to be looking, it sounds as though we're still looking at one more wing option, which would kind of rule Ryan Sessegnon. He'd be kind of fifth, sixth choice then at getting a game on the wing if that was the case. And so left back cover, maybe perhaps that's what it is. And we'll see how he gets on.
So at what pound figure per week for wages would you be miffed? So if you found out he was on £70,000 a week as opposed to 35, what are you comfortable with? Given that we've got the high watermark of Rao allegedly at 100k as Mooney's backup.
Yeah, I think it'd raise eyebrows if it was over 50k a week. I mean, he is a kind of played for Spurs, so he was obviously on a half decent wage there. We might have even had to drop a bit in salary to find a club. I'm not sure, but I think it would raise eyebrows if he was on over 50k a week, particularly when the PSR rules change next season, and that will become quite important. Our wage spend on players. So yeah.
I mean, I'm hardly going to bust out my violin for somebody earning between 20 to like 50k a week. So that's just my take on it, at least.
Yeah, sure.
Actually, while we're talking about Palace, is it worth mentioning this rumor mill, or shall we just hide it?
Yeah, let's talk about Palace. Let's talk about Anderson. And for those who weren't aware or just picking this up, just before we went live, there were reports that Fulham had gone in for Joachim Anderson. apparently bidding £20 million and allegedly Palace looking for double that figure. I don't know. Is that real? Do we know is that verified?
Elton, that's come from David Ornstein, so he's
Okay.
the guy at the Athletic. So, and they really don't speculate. They kind of only report when they've heard something. So I think it's as good a source as you could actually find. It says last night we went in with a bid of 20 million, and Palace want, as you say, double that. That doesn't surprise me that Palace want double that. I think he's been fantastic for them alongside Gahey in defence. It's a real surprise that we've kind of bid. I don't think clubs bid for players if they haven't been given an indication that they're available. So that's quite interesting thing to consider. But it came so out the blue because we've also been really strongly linked with Diego Carlos from Aston Villa, which is the point where Fabrizio Romano was tweeting about it this morning. I don't think we get both, and certainly the Athletics announcement suggests that they're multiple. We have multiple targets, so it looks like we're trying to get one, and I feel like we're just so far away from Palace's valuation with Anderson that I'd be really surprised if we could get that one over the line. But let me tell you, if we did, I would be over the moon. He was one of my favorites when he played that season under Parker. He was excellent.
I don't think you'd find too many Fulham fans who'd be disappointed by Anderson returning to the cottage. Surely, I wonder if he's of similar value to Palace that Pellegrini was to us. There were talks of Pellegrini being worth £80 million to Fulham. Not that that's his market value, but for what the job he does for us, there was a high value. And how do we replace him? And what does that mean for us? And then suddenly we're rejigging the whole midfield. And I wonder if it's quite similar for Palace. He's a crucial piece of that Palace side in their defence.
They did just sell Elise, and they got a pretty penny for that. So I'm assuming they actually have some dollars to play with, and they are in the midst of a serious revamp, and they're looking like they're going to be pretty exceptional this season with the kind of the signings that they actually have. So I mean, there could be some like validity in it, and they could be looking to go like you've been great for us, but we're looking to go to another level now. Because he's 28 years old. He's 28 years old. So they're probably, is it fair to say that they've probably got like what they need out of him, and then might be looking at younger, and it's hard.
I don't know. I think a 28 centre back is in their prime, personally.
Yeah, and I reckon probably on something there.
And the other strange thing about this is that Palace, reportedly in negotiations to sell Gahey to Newcastle. So it's a real surprise that they let their back two leave. It's a really weird one. Something's got to be going on there. Perhaps a fallout between Anderson and Glasner, maybe. I don't know, but something's going on.
Tasty prospect though, hey, Bassi and Anderson.
Don't even tempt me. Don't tickle me in that way.
Can you imagine?
This is why I hate transfers though, because I won't get emotionally invested until it's done, because I can't. I really can't. Like I've had to block Campolina on every social media because it was like seeing your girlfriend get engaged. Like I'm just sick of it.
Yeah. For what it's worth, I still think we end up with Diego Carlos. I think that.
Do you reckon?
I think we're closer on that deal. They're not going to want the money that Palace are going to want for Anderson. And of course, there's a reason he's older, but. It isn't, but Carlos is a good player. He's experienced. That might be good for Bassi. We've let go a lot of experience this summer already. I was fine with that until I heard Anderson. I was fine with us signing Diego Carlos, and now that Anderson thing is really kind of.
But just to dig into that, the reason why, obviously, and we're not the lead strategists on this. It's a pretty open secret that. What we're talking about here is trading up on Diop at centre back on the right hand side, and no disrespect for Diop, he's actually done a pretty good job for us since coming in. but it does feel like the Marco Silva dream team needs something more to
Mm.
complete the picture. And I would be very comfortable as Diop as a backup, or even someone on light rotation duties.
Mm.
But a kind of rejuvenated Kenny Tete, who's
Mm.
I think he looks to be on this season from
Mm.
what I
Mm.
saw recently, and I just again absolutely no disrespect to Castagna. He's done a fantastic job for us last year, and I know Kenny has got his potential weak points in terms of his passing ability, and how perhaps how he gets himself or how he progresses the ball out of tight spaces. But he's just such a combative and exciting player to have at fullback. And imagine Kenny, Anderson, Bassey, Robinson. I mean,
Well,
that would be something.
Well,
That would.
here's my point. At least I think when you have a player that's as good as Bassi and is showing so much potential, like I actually really liked the Ream Diop partnership, but I feel that we got a little bit spoiled there. That kind of came out of the blue, and then that was just great for what it was. But I think that was a really just we got quite lucky with that, and then Bassi and Tosin again, really great. It never felt perfect. And Bassi has really proven that he is the future of the club. I absolutely love him. I think he's fantastic, and I think Silva also loves him as well. And I think if you're gonna buy a friend for any player, I really think you would do it for Bassi. I mean, like because
Oh,
like
you
if you're
think he
gonna
needs
spend money,
friends? Jeez.
no, he doesn't need friends, but like if you're gonna actually go, okay, who is the future here and who needs
Mm.
a partner to get the absolute best out of them, you
Oh
do buy
yeah.
them the friend. Friend.
Yeah.
Yeah, if
Do you know-
if only Iwobi could play it at centre back, that would be the
Oh, I
the
love
cherry
them. I
on everyone's
absolutely love
cherry.
them on social media. They're so funny. They're so funny. Like,
They have been a highlight of the summer, certainly.
Yeah.
Just going back to what you were saying, Elton, about Diop, I can agree. I think Diop is a fine squad player. A good Premier League defender. The problem with Diop is, of course, we all know he's got this mistake in him, but it just every time he makes that mistake, it leads to a goal. It's
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Mm.
He'll make one mistake a game and it leads to a goal, and you just think, God, there's still a lot to go wrong after he's made that mistake, but it's just the team just collapses when he does it. And I think
Yeah.
we've all grown a little bit kind of tired of that, really, and we're kind of fine with him coming in to cover, but we've had enough of him making those mistakes, and really to kick on, we need to replace Tosin properly and give Bassi a good partner for the long term.
Yeah.
And then you also mentioned about Tete, and I thought the last couple of friendlies, his link-up play with Adam has been really, really good. And it's
Yeah.
going to be, he certainly now looks like he's going to start the season. He had that opportunity because he was in pre-season from the start, whereas Castagna came back late because of international duty. And it looks
Over
like
the
he's
breaks.
that's it. And it looks like he's match fit and he's just going to hold his place. And if he keeps
Yeah, he
performing
really
like
does.
he has, then we'll be
That's
great.
exciting.
It
It's
is
exciting.
because
I felt for him last year. I really did.
Yeah.
Because I think a couple of difficult injuries and then Castagna just doing really, really well. And Silva simply wasn't going to replace him. This is not a well. Actually, let's talk about Cuenca while we're talking about our defenders. Thoughts and or TFEs, shall I say?
Yeah, I mean, he's as I say, he's been brought in to allow Tim Ream to leave. I'm sure we're going to talk about Tim Ream at some point, but we'll focus on Cuenca for the moment. He's been brought in, and it looks like they've really kind of done their homework on the style of player. They've almost replaced a like for like. Cuenca looks very good on the ball. Good passing range, and looks like he's going to come in and he'll be able to provide that competition and for Bassi quite effectively. that's very much an early notice. We've only seen him in a couple of pre-season games, but the omens are good. I was hoping when we signed, I think my friend Michael was saying, I hope we haven't signed another Maxime Le Marchand here. I don't think we have. I think he might be a bit of a level above that, and I'm quite excited to see him when he gets his opportunities.
Yeah.
I really like this kid because I mean, from like I actually quite like him, his playing style as well. He seems really solid, and he seems like a very worthy backup to Bassi. I feel quite comfortable with him. But I actually just really like all like the stuff that's been on like Instagram about this guy. Like his promotion, he was just eating an ice cream cone, and every single like photo I've seen with them playing water polo in Portugal, he's just got the biggest smile on his face, and I just really love that. He just seems to be like absolutely buzzing to be there. And even if he's just a rotation player, like we just need as much as that as physically possible, because it seems like quite a boisterous group. And he's just like your lanky friend who's like, hey.
Morale seems great in the camp, doesn't it?
Yeah. I think you're right, David. It does seem like such a good piece of homework, and kind of completely under the radar, but just a really nice little signing that's got some potential. Can we round this out and talk about, obviously, unless I've forgotten anyone, I think that is it in terms of new signings. But can we just talk about a comment you made last night on our chat, Dave, when you basically was perfectly PG when you actually referred to as a rejuvenated Adama as effectively a new signing, and I thought it was absolutely spot on. He's looked really good, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's been phenomenal this preseason. He looks just such a threat on that right wing. His pace, his ability to carry the ball forward or get in behind. Yeah, it does.
It looks very composed, and it looks like he belongs somehow.
It does, and he's making the right decisions with his when he's on the ball. He's got good support around him, of course, but yeah, I'm so impressed. It really does look like a new signing. It looks like we've signed a £30 million winger, and it's great for him to have a pre-season behind him this year, because obviously last year he was signed a little bit later in the window. He looks, and he's certain to start the season, and I think he can really add something to our attack this year, which is another exciting part of the summer. And just want to touch on it as well. On the other wing, I think Iwobi's been brilliant in preseason, like really good. I was super impressed with his performance yesterday, and I think he looks like he's got that position on the left lockdown. And I think a lot of people were talking about ESR playing out there to accommodate Pereira, but I can't see Iwobi losing that left wing spot now either.
Yeah.
What I'm seeing in Adama Traore feels like classic great man management, and Silva kind of putting his arm around him and saying, mate, it's yours, just show me. I know what you can do, show us. And he just looks a different player. To be fair to him, how many times did he start last year? I can't even remember.
Not many.
It would be a couple of times, maybe 3 at best. And I feel like everyone wants to sort of pigeonhole him as that high impact sub that comes on and stretches defenses, and that all is true. But I think that seems to have really chipped away at his kind of self-belief, and being given an opportunity to start and say, look, make it your own, just show us what you can do. It just feels different. And a couple of people have made the comments that his link-up play there seems to be a lovely dynamic between him and Kenny. Because Kenny loves to burst down there, and if he's got an opportunity to, do some magic and be part of some magic down the right-hand side, pacey magic, that's really exciting. That's so exciting. So yeah, I'm fingers crossed that he can both stay fit and continue to do what we think he can do. The other thing about Iwobi, I'd say, is that I felt almost a bit sorry for Iwobi last season, that he was moved around a quite a lot and asked to do a lot of different roles. And I think that maybe is easier for some players to do than others. And I wonder, knowing that, okay, we've got an absolute talent in ESR in the middle, all you've got to do is do your job out on the left-hand side. I wonder if that simplified things for Iwobi and made him more comfortable in his own skin and what he's got to do out there.
Oh, I think so. Like massive. I mean, I'm fascinated by the psychology of like all these football players and just how it needs to be a perfect ecosystem for them. And Traore is equally as interesting because I feel that in every club that he's been in, it's always been a little bit like, we know you do this amazing thing and we want to include that amazing thing, but we don't really know how to include that well in a way that satisfies everyone. And I think that Silva has made a lot of space for him now. And as you said, literally just encourage him to be like, this is your place. This is your place. Get comfortable here. I don't really care how long it takes you to get comfortable, but that's your moment. Just do that. And I think I think if we just lock in and just go, Iwobi, that's where you go, that's again just going to allow him to have like a lot of peace to just be the absolute best Iwobi, because a good Iwobi is such a good player and he's got so much value. And it's really exciting. It's really exciting, especially with him being familiar with Emile Smith Rowe, with their time at Arsenal. It's just yeah. It's like kind of.
I think there's also it looks like a good bit of combination and chemistry between Robinson and Iwobi as well. And so there's a lot of exciting stuff coming together there.
Yeah.
Can we talk about Lukic? I haven't seen. I struggled to get streams for the games in Portugal, but I did watch the game yesterday. I thought he was okay, Lukic, yesterday. He certainly wasn't awful in any sense. But how did you think he did yesterday, Dave? And what's your sense? Can he do a job for us, or is it an absolute must that we trade up in that position?
But I mean, yes and yes. I think that he can do a job for us. He in the last actual 3 games, I thought he had a pretty good game against Benfica. He looked a bit like a João Polina that day. He was breaking up plays, doing slide tackles, intercepting the ball. He had a really good game. He didn't play as long against Sevilla, if I remember right. But yesterday, I thought he did a fine job, and I think he's a good squad player. I don't think he'll let us down. But I think we do need to trade up to a better quality player to replace João for sure. So I see him as a squad player. I think it's great that he can, cover in the 6, but also as we know, play the 8 quite well. And I see him still being here at the start of the window and being part of the squad. I think if we are in danger of losing anyone, it might be Harrison Reed. But I think so far what I've seen from Lukic is that he can do a job, and I expect him to start on Friday because we're just not going to have business done in time now to integrate anyone into the side. So I think he starts the season, and as I say, I think he'll be more than capable of filling in.
I'm still waiting to see Sasa Lukic's absolute best performance, where I just kind of go, wow, that's the absolute peak of what we're going to get from you, or that's the standard. Because I kind of know what a base level of Sasa Lukic is, but I don't think I've still seen everything that we spent our money on. And God forbid, if I already have, then yeah, we definitely need somebody as soon as possible.
He's a funny one. He seems a quiet chap. There's sort of a bit of timidity about him, isn't there? He seems a bit of a gentle chap, actually, who kind of feels like if his shirt is hung up on the hanger, it's a little bit damp from dry cleaning. He might be put off by that. Oh, that's a bit harsh, I know. But
I was about to say he's Serbian, so I probably wouldn't mess with him. But that's like you say that to his face, see what happens.
yeah, well, I did see him once on one occasion when he clearly had a mission. He did rough up. I can't remember who the player was, but he did actually put some physical work in, which quite surprised me. Let's talk about Muniz. Now, again, I haven't seen a lot of him, but what I do know is that he's had a fairly dry spell over the pre-season. I saw him yesterday, and I actually didn't. I was trying to work out who was up
Who
front
he was.
yesterday.
Yeah.
Because the Hoffenheim cameras were not great, and they were an awful long way away, and it was very, very wide angled and long zoom. And I was trying to work out where Muniz was, because I was sure he was on the starting sheet, only to find that young Muniz had gone out and got himself a haircut or a braiding.
Right? Can we talk about the haircuts? Like I have thoughts, but yeah.
That was quite bizarre.
Before we talk about his haircuts, but please save your comments. We can talk about his haircut, but Dave, we had a bit of a chat about this last night. You were pretty comfortable that Money Muniz will do what he does best, and that perhaps pre-season isn't a good reflection of what the requirements are going to be in the Premier League for a centre forward. Over to you.
Yeah, so I think there's a section of our fan base who still think that we need a striker, and that they're not completely sold, and they're concerned that maybe Muniz just had a hot streak at the back end of the window, and I that's reasonable observation. I think I saw enough from him in his all-round play last year. Wasn't just the goals, if that makes sense, to suggest that he can be our number 9, and was really pleased to see him get the number 9. You're right, in the last 3 games he hasn't scored. Of course, he only started 2 of them, the Benfica and the Hoffenheim game. He scored a goal in the Watford game, pretty good goal by all accounts from what I read, but he hasn't since we've been on tour. And the Benfica game was interesting. I think he had a couple of chances in that game. One was a header that was a little bit behind him, but it was a chance. And another that he kind of snapped at a little bit that went across the box and just past the far post. So he had a couple of chances in that game. I think last night he was quiet. There's no getting away from that. He was quiet. He found it difficult to get into the game. A lot of our best moments came from our wing play and from Emil Smith-Rowe in the 10, and some of the service into Muniz wasn't great. I didn't think Robinson had a great game, with his delivery, with his crossing into the box. I thought I think Muniz could have been on the score sheet if there was some better crosses coming into the box at some good opportunities yesterday. So I just think I'm confident that next Friday coming is going to be a different game. One where we're going to need Muniz's attributes more, his hold-up play, as so that we can build counter-attacks through him. And I think we'll see the best of him then. And if he can get a goal, I think it will just calm everyone down again. And, it would be a great start to the season for him if we can get him a goal, if not on Friday, but in August, just to kind of give him confidence and give the fan base confidence that he's the right man.
Yeah, look, that's the point. It's the confidence thing. I think he's shown us enough last season to prove that he can do it in the Premier League, clearly. And I don't know that there are any sabers rattling that he's not the number 9 for us. I think we'd love to have someone else, but it doesn't seem to be a priority. Raul can certainly do a job in behind him, and he is here to stay by the looks of things. But I would have loved to have seen him get a couple of goals. He's only a young lad, and however good a 6 or 8 week period he had, he does need to. He needs those juices to be flowing. He needs to be feeling confident, and I'd have loved him to hit this week with a few really great goals behind him. Because great for him to be involved in the hold up play, which he wasn't even required to do yesterday. But if he'd had a couple of goals, I think that would have been a nice preparation and lead in for him. It's a bit of a shame to me that he hasn't had that opportunity. It doesn't. You go on, Sam.
It will be weird for him adjusting to Smith Rowe behind him because he's so different to Pereira. And look, when there's goal opportunities, Smith Rowe is going to take them. So he will have to kind of develop his game a little bit more. And I've seen enough of him to know that he will adjust. It might be some time, and I reckon he will figure it out. But it might be a bit clunky. But I still feel comfortable with him in that 9 position going forward because at least he just does enough in this all round play. Now, very quickly, his haircut. Weird and jarring, but I'm kind of fine with it because I feel like it'll give him confidence. He needs confidence going forward. I'm quite happy with Andreas's top knot as well. It's giving Bad Bunny. I feel like he could use that. He's going to a new position. That's fine. Raul looks fucking ridiculous. He looks like Sean Paul or cosplay. It's all over the place. That needs to be taken out as soon as physically possible. You're not doing yourself any favors. If anything, like just kill it with fire. And that's my take on all 3 haircuts.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking for. I think Mooney's displayed a lot of personal confidence in going out and getting that.
Yeah, great. I love that. I love that. You know,
I'm not sure it's worked, but he's kind of like props and points for actually going out and doing it.
He looks so different. He looks so different. You really can't recognize him. And it looks to me like I think you might have said it in the group last night, Elton. It looks like Louis Saha's haircut. Yeah, it looks like he's taken Louis Saha's haircut.
Let him have it though. But, it could be great. It could be great. Raul is an adult man. Like I'm pretty sure he's got children of a respectable age that should have poo-pooed that immediately. It looks like imagine him going into a bank with that haircut.
Yeah.
Anyway,
that's fair.
Anyway. So guys, I know we've talked in and around these transfers ins and outs, and obviously there's been a fair old clean out this summer. I think we're not done in terms of replacing our stocks here, and we certainly hope that that's not the end of it. And surely Tony Khan, whatever happens in the next 10 days, surely Tony Khan's going to do some business on the last day. We just know he is. But let's talk about the departure of Tim Ream. I mean, a lot's been said. There's probably not that much more we can say in terms of singing his praises for everything he's done for the club. And I think there are very few servants of this club who are as much loved on and off the field as this guy. So obviously a huge miss for us. And anything else to add on this, guys?
Well, yeah, I mean, he is. I think he is going to go down as a legend. Ream, he spent 9 years here. It's been topsy turvy. I mean, there's been times where I think we've all called for his place in the side to be, for us to upgrade really on Tim at certain stages of his career at Fulham. But I think what really stands out to me is just how much character he has, and that he's just kind of proved everyone wrong and just kept working and developing. And the last couple of years in the Premier League, he's been fantastic. He really has, hasn't he? He's been excellent, and showed everyone that he could do it at this level. And then he's taken that on to the international stage as well, and done fantastic for the USA too. Fair play to the guy. And I think Fulham would have kept him another year. I think we obviously offered him a 1-year deal, which he signed. I think we would have kept him another year as kind of backup to Bassi, but I don't think that was enough for Tim. I think he wants to play in America in 2026, and the opportunity to play regularly in the MLS was too good to turn down. And good luck to him. I'd like nothing better than to see him at the next World Cup.
Yeah, this one kind of hits me emotionally. Like I'm not even joking. Like Because when we first signed him, this first couple of years, it was just a little bit up and down. But really, maybe like the past 4 years, I've just loved every moment of like the narrative that he's brought, and he's just grown so much into like such such a fantastic. He's been a fantastic captain. He's been such an because we wrote him off. We completely wrote him off before like the Premier League, and he just proved everyone wrong. And he was so great, and it feels like every time we wrote him off, we were just completely wrong, and that was just all entirely down to him and everything that he added and everything that he seems to have done in the changing room. I'll just miss him so much, and it's just been an absolute pleasure, and I'm just really sad. I mean, it was one thing losing João because like I've just really loved the João Palhinha saga at Fulham, but this one just really hurt, and it was the same with Bobby as well. I was just sad, and I want the best for Tim, and I want him to be able to like play in the US. Even the USA wrote him off, and then he came back, and that's just what he does. He's I just have tremendous respect and appreciation for that kind of mentality, and to just do it with so much just poise as well. Like he's never been a dick. He's never been a kind of like an I'll show you in a very kind of like boisterous way. He's just had total composure, and he's just I'm just tremendously proud that he's been associated with Fulham.
I think that's kind of exactly where I was going to go with this. I think that Tim Ream, the character Tim Ream, I mean, he's just a good human being, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
And I think the character of Tim Ream is what Fulham, it kind of personifies what Fulham wants to believe is the essence of the club, and I think he's done a really great job in promoting Fulham as that kind of a football club. Quite apart from all the impressive things he's done on the field, as that quiet professional, as you said, it doesn't go around bombastically trying to sort of shove his point down anyone's throat. He quietly goes about his business, likes to prove the non-believers, I guess, but he does it in a way which is very gracious and just great to be part of, really. I mean, moving back to the US, obviously he's an American, so moving back to the US is obviously kind of a natural thing for him to do. He's taking his family back there, and I'm sure that's a really good move and rounding out his career. He's been in England a long time. I mean, if he's been at Fulham for 9 years, add Bolton to that. How long has he been in England? Like, it's got to be, what, 12, 13, 14 years, probably?
13, yeah, probably something like that, yeah.
Yeah, that's a long time. He's probably brought up his entire family. Well, definitely brought up his entire family in England. So maybe it's the next chapter and kind of doing the right thing and completing the circle on his family life. So good luck to him. What else, guys? I think one thing I'm always conscious of the fact when we go through the playlist, we always seem to forget Bernd Leno. It's just like an assumption that Bernd Leno is great, isn't he? But we don't talk about him, and I think there were some comments and murmurs in the background about his form at the end of last season, and no one was exactly calling for his head, but people were starting to be critical in certain moments of some of his form. He looks sharp to me. Again, perhaps hasn't been Premier League tested, but he does look sharp. He looks fit, and he looks in good form. Do you agree with that, Dave?
Oh yeah, for sure. Against Benfica, he kept us in the game. He made 2 incredible saves. One low down to his left, and one shot from outside the box looked like it was going to dip into the top left-hand corner, right-hand corner, and he plucked it out the sky. He looks in great nick. What I would say is I was less impressed with. I'm not necessarily blaming Bender for the 2 goals that we conceded against Sevilla, but he just didn't strike me as a goalkeeper that had much presence. And
Mm.
I'm a little concerned that maybe we're a little light there, and I wouldn't be surprised if we bring in someone else to replace Rodak, really, and also just to kind of push Burnt, keep him in his place.
Yeah, well, there has been a little bit of discussion about that, isn't there? I can't remember the name of the guy that was linked just in the last 48 hours, I think. But
Okay, I didn't see that.
yeah, I can't actually remember. Maybe someone on following along on the live stream can prompt me. But there was a name linked, and I think there's a concern that typically you would have 3 keepers, and with Rodak having moved on, we're probably a bit light on it. If Leno did actually suffer an injury, we'd probably be in a fairly dire position, I'd say, at Premier League level. Have we missed anyone, guys? There's actually Jack's put up a slide here about some further transfer news, just to mention some of the loanees. Dave, you're much better equipped to cover this than Sam and I are. You follow this, so you follow this closely, mate. I know you do.
I played with Kieran Bowie on FIFA the other day, and I feel like that's the extent of my knowledge.
Look, obviously Bo's just left. He's gone to Hibernian. I read 600,000. Sounds like a decent fee for a player that we've only ever had on loan in League One. And of course, it's 100% profit, as they tell us on the books this year for PSR purposes. So I think that's a good thing. Devon Tanton, I think it was a little bit of surprise that he'd gone down the leagues, so many leagues, really. I think people were kind of thinking he might play League One, Championship, maybe at somewhere abroad. But he's gone to League Two with Chesterfield, and apparently he was man of the match on his first game and was absolutely brilliant. So I think we all know there's a talent there, and it'd be great to see if he can keep that up this year and to keep developing. Luke Harris at Birmingham, I think Birmingham's surely going to be right up there in League One this year. They've invested quite a lot of money in their team. You'd think Luke's been brought in to start. So I think ideally a championship loan would have been good, but a team that's going to fight for the championship of League One probably be a good chance for him to continue his development.
Yeah.
And DPTS, I can't recall where he's gone. Anyone remind me?
Look, if we can't remember, it's probably not important. Moving on.
Yeah, moving on.
Thanks for that, Dave.
No worries.
Just remind me of Luke Harris's age. What is his age?
Like
21.
Yeah, I can't recall.
Is he younger than Stano?
Yeah, I think he's younger than. I think he is.
I think he is, isn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, he's 19. He's 19 actually. He's only turned 19 in March.
Damn.
What's the current and latest with Stano?
Well, interesting this one, Elton, because I just had a quick look on my phone because Fulham Twitter's going crazy this afternoon with all this Joachim Anderson talk. But there's a report that the behind closed doors game yesterday against presumably Hoffenheim B team that took place before the game that we all watched. The game actually finished 3-3. And the goal scorers were Harry Wilson and Stansfield got 2 goals. And from the lineup, it looks as though he played on the left with Raul up front and Wilson on the right. So that's a good sign. He's still amongst the squad. And if he'd done enough to impress yesterday, then maybe Marco will keep him around. But there's still a lot of talk, isn't there, that he may go on loan.
He seems to be in a twilight zone for me. Maybe 2 or 3 years ago, we would have, if he was emerging at his current age 2 or 3 years ago, I think he would have been absolutely in amongst the squad. But I think now, in terms of where we're trying to get to and this current jigsaw build, I think there's a sense that they'd love to include him, but I'm not sure he's going to make the cut. I'm not sure. Even if he doesn't go out on loan and he stays, I'm not sure. I'm not
Mm.
sure.
He's kind of like
I'm not convinced. I'm not actually convinced that he's Premier League level yet. I know he had a cracking season last season, but that was not Premier League.
Well, I actually really liked him in the first couple of games when he played for us last season, and because I think he was actually really unlucky to not actually get a goal in can't remember which game it was, but he came in with like a lot of tenacity, and like I understand why he went on loan, but I did think that he could actually be a utility part of the squad going forward.
Yeah.
He's kind of like the opposite of like Cess for me. I think Cess is coming in with very little pressure, and he's kind of almost had like a bit of cushioning. He's going in a quite cushy environment where they can just be like, just develop at your own pace. I feel that Stansfield is the opposite. I feel that Stansfield actually has like a lot of pressure now, and it's literally either like, look, make good now, or we can't keep believing in the dream, and like
He's got to play games. He's got to play games. So I think if we can't give him games, and I would like to see him get the opportunity. Don't get me wrong, because we all like to see a youth player break through, and it's rare at Fulham that they do. But I think if it gets towards the end of the window and he's not playing, then he's most certainly going to go out on loan. I also think the club, if they were to get a really good offer, kind of a 10 million plus offer, would consider selling him just because of the boost it would give to our books from the PSR perspective. God, I feel like I've mentioned that 3 or 4 times already. It's so boring, isn't it? But apparently it's a really good thing if you sell youth players.
You're very journalist today. You're very journalist today, Dave. I quite like it. It's very formal. I'm into it.
Yeah. I'm kind of being a bit quiet because my toddler's asleep at the moment. I'm trying.
Oh, really?
He's directly above me, so maybe it's just that.
Yeah, you've gone very BBC all of a sudden.
Oh God. Yeah, but yeah, I think he's got to play games. Is the summary, really, hasn't he?
Yeah, so. I do think there's a player there. I genuinely think there's a player there. Like, I like him.
Guys, I think we're just about done for today. On the basis that we are definitely coming back midweek to preview the Man United game, and then of course Man United this Friday, and then I guess we'll be potting sometime over the weekend to review that. But can I say to everyone listening, the Discord channel is growing beautifully. There's some really, really great conversations along there. I genuinely, I sound like I'm marketing it, but I personally find it
you
easier.
are marketing it.
Okay, I'll then continue to market it. But what I meant was I am marketing it, but I'm sounding a bit too salesy. What I meant to say was I genuinely find it easier to follow stuff on our Discord channel than I do on Twitter, where everything just gets lost, and it's just a sea of stuff, mixed in with other trash that gets put on my feed. So thank you to everyone who continues to participate, and for that little community, which is growing really nicely. Some great content being provided by various people, and really good conversations that I genuinely thoroughly enjoy reading when I can't be bothered contributing, and diving into when I feel a bit feisty. And further to that, look out for midweek moments, which come out, funnily enough, midweek. At the moment, it seems to be Jack's burst of energy. Jack has suddenly decided he's got something to say in writing, and he's created so many bloody articles over the last couple of weeks. I'm not quite sure where the energies come from, but very, very good. I think Jack's probably at about 20 articles, and Dave and Skippy and I think are on about 1 each.
And I've written nothing.
Yeah, well, I didn't want to mention that, but I guess if you did the maths, you would.
But again, we're building the hype.
Would come to that.
No, the more people who join the Discord, the more likely I am to actually do it. So I'm not going to do it until we get 100,000 subscribers. Then when we get 100,000 subscribers, then I will submit my article.
Excellent. That should be about Thursday by my reckoning. So I look forward to that.
That's good marketing. That is good marketing.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you so much for giving up your Sunday. I've enjoyed it. I've actually been really looking forward to getting back to potting and talking about this. Not that we've been away, as I said before, but it is very, very fun to be back. And I'm really, really looking forward to the season at this point. So, Samuel, thanks for jumping on.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, no, I'm ready to rock and roll again. It's my life has been in disarray, so I'm happy that we're back in the consistency. I'm glad that we're back to tickling your air holes. I'm doubling down on that. And yeah, there's air holes. No, that's wrong. That's wrong.
I was wondering what on earth that was, but anyway.
Freudian slip. Anyway, thanks for having me. I've had the best time, and yeah, we're gonna see more of this. Hear more of this. Yeah, you get it.
David, nice to see your face and good to hear you. And thanks for giving up your time.
Yeah, it's great to see you guys. It's great that we're back, and as you said, we will be podcasting twice a week now as the season starts. You can also find us, as Elton said, on the Discord channel that we have, and there's a post went out yesterday on our Twitter feed with a link to how you can subscribe there. But as I say, lots of the kind of popular Twitter users in the Fulham community have been using it, and that's great. And then, yeah, as I say, Jack's been posting lots and lots of good articles recently. We're doing a weekly roundup as well. So loads of content out there for you guys. So we really appreciate your support. And yeah, as you can tell, we're really looking forward to the season ahead.
We should actually say as well that Jack and Skibby will be back. We understand that they are important figures, and this wasn't like sort of like we're just gonna gloss over. Let's just like they won't notice. Like they will 100% be back. They'll be back in your ears, and yeah.
I believe Skibby's somewhere in Wales. Not sure if it's north or south. Maybe he's I don't know where he is, but I think he's somewhere in Wales and due back for the start of the season. Jack's got his hands full with other matters, which we wish him well with. And but anyway, without any further ado, and as we always say, come on, you Whites.